In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to master the game of life. Now, what does this mean? Well, I think in essence, what it actually means is when we understand that what we are perceiving to be the outer external world is just a projection, it's a reflection of our inner state of being. And so, as within, so without. That's actually the way things work, but the mind is programmed to think the opposite. And so if we're living from the headspace predominantly, if we're living from the mind, we're going to be thinking that something has to happen out there in order for us to experience the change within. In order for us to be happy, someone out there has to make us happy. In order for us to be grateful, we have to receive that prize that we've been wanting to receive for months or whatever it is, you know? And so it's just like this whole mindset of the outer has to change in order for me to be content. But what if it was the other way around? What if you had the power to make a shift within yourself, and when that shift occurred, then all of a sudden the outer started to reflect the inner? What if you were actually a lot more powerful than you thought? And what if your true nature is divine and that you are a creator by nature and you can create your own reality in a way? Well, in this video, I'm going to be teaching you exactly how you can do that. And so to begin, the first thing we have to do is we have to master the mind, because the mind is the filter from which we're perceiving all this stuff externally. And the mind is tricky because the mind really wants us to think that we are the mind. The mind really wants us to think that we are our thoughts. And for many people, they do. They think that every little thought that they have is their own thought. And they think that they have to listen to all of their thoughts and they're controlled by their thoughts. But the reality of it is that you are not your thoughts. We have thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. We are what's aware of the thoughts. And so how do you transcend this attachment to thought? It's simple. You be aware of the thought. And so this happens like in meditation. When you first start meditating, and you've got all these different thoughts that are arising and they're distracting and you don't know what to do with the thoughts. Instead of trying to control the thoughts, instead of trying not to think, no, simply be aware. And in being aware, you'll start to recognize the root of these thoughts, because most of these thoughts are deeply rooted in subconscious beliefs that we've been programmed with. And so as we start to go within, and through meditation or through some other kind of practice, we can get into these deep meditative states. We can get into theta. We can actually, from theta, we can actually start to reprogram our subconscious minds. And from this reprogramming, this will create new thoughts. The new thoughts will create new emotions. And once we start to embody these new emotions, that's when our state of being changes. And then that's when the shift in the outer world becomes evident, and it becomes really apparent that it's always been in this sequential order, not the other way around. It's never been this whole game of, oh, if this happens and that happens, then I'll be better, then I'll be transformed, then I'll be healed, then I'll be whole. No, that's just the tricky mind trying to distract us from the truth of reality. And so we have to transcend the mind. Step one is master the mind, and the mind is mastered through awareness. Simply being aware of your thoughts. In doing this, you recognize that, okay, I can't be my thoughts because I am what's aware of my thoughts. And this awareness alone is almost like light. And so the more we're aware of our thoughts, light is going into the thoughts, and the negative thoughts start to slowly but surely dissipate. Okay? So, but I'll say this too. When you're aware of your thoughts, or when you're first becoming aware of your thoughts, what you'll notice most of the time is that these thoughts that just go, that just are continuous all throughout the day that we experience, most of them are coming from this place of negativity and disempowerment. And again, that has a lot to do with the subconscious programming that we have experienced or that we were programmed with. And this typically goes on when we are younger, in the first 7 years of our lives. And so, yeah, we see that the majority of these thoughts are coming from this place of lack, and coming from this place of fear, and coming from this place of separateness. And so just by being aware, like I said, this is the very beginning of changing the way we think, because now we know that these thoughts are not true. We are not our thoughts, and there's a much deeper root, and it can be traced back to subconscious beliefs. And so what do you do with the fruit? If you want to change the fruit, you have to change the root. And I'll be making some more videos on this in depth, where I really explain how to reprogram the subconscious mind, how to reprogram these deep subconscious beliefs. And I'll probably get the whiteboard back out again to draw something out, to make an illustration so that you can have a visual, because that always helps. But anyways, that's step one. Master the mind. Meditation is great for this. Be aware of thoughts, okay? Step two is start to embody elevated emotions. Now, what do I mean by elevated emotions? Well, elevated emotions are emotions of love and joy and peace and happiness and authenticity. And so every emotion, an emotion is energy in motion, has a vibrational frequency attached to it. And so if we're experiencing high elevated emotions, that of love and peace and joy, then our frequency is going to be naturally high. And by the way, our frequency already is naturally high, because we are divine spiritual beings. And so we don't have to really raise our vibration, because our vibration is already high. Authenticity, which is like the highest thing to embody, that has the highest frequency connected to it, is, what is authenticity? Well, it's who you really are. So you're not trying to attain that. No, it's the real you. But what happens is we get pulled down by these lower emotions that have thoughts attached to these emotions. That it typically always starts with a thought, and then the emotion is created. But these lower emotions are also attached to these to frequencies, and they're lower frequencies. And when we start understanding that everything is energy, and energy is vibrating at different frequencies, then we can start to see that, oh, if I'm embodying this certain emotion, let's say fear, then what's actually happening? Well, I had a thought or many thoughts, and the thoughts caused this emotion to arise. Now my state of being is that of fear and separateness. And because that emotion that I'm embodying is energy, it's frequency, what's happening? Well, that frequency, that vibration is starting to emanate from my being into my external world, and it's having a direct influence on how I'm perceiving my external world. And perception is a big deal, because it determines essentially what our external reality is subjectively, right? So this is the pattern of it. And this is why it's so important to really understand that everything is energy, including you and I, including these emotions that we are embodying. And so that's step two. It's to recognize that you have the ability to change your emotions really at any time. You don't have to feel this way. You can make that shift. You can start to embody these high-level emotions before the external thing happens, before you get the promotion, before you start the relationship, before you receive the wealth or the abundance, or what, fill in the blank, it doesn't matter. You can start to embody the emotion that's attached, that's associated with that external thing before the external thing even happens. And when you start to do this, this is when you start to experience, watch this, transformation from the inside out instead of the other way around. And this is where you start to wake up to the truth of your divinity, the truth of your power. You are much more powerful than you think. You've been programmed to believe that you're not powerful. You've been programmed to believe that something has to happen outside of yourself in order for you to be content and fulfilled. But the truth is, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And as you activate this true self, the divine self, the power within you, then all of a sudden there is that shift from the inside out, and the kingdom of heaven starts to manifest in your outer world instead of just in your inner world. Because in this process, in this transformation, when it starts to manifest within, or when you start, I'll say it like this, when you start to embody that state of being, of whatever it is you're wanting to experience, then the sequence of it is it starts to manifest out there, because it has to. Why? Because everything is one. And so essentially what this whole process is the shift from separation consciousness to oneness, to wholeness, to unity consciousness. It's the shift from fear into love. Fear sees as two. Love sees only as one. And so the deeper truth in all of this is that there really is no inner world and outer world. They're one. And as you're meditating and you're getting into these deep meditative states and you're transcending the thinking analytical mind and all the disempowering thoughts and beliefs that come with that, and you're experiencing these high level elevated emotions, and you're experiencing heart-brain coherence, what's starting to happen in this process of meditation as you're going from beta to alpha to theta and then maybe even into gamma is the door, the wall between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is starting to fall down. And this is, I think, really the pinnacle, or the heart of the awakening journey, is when you first experience this, and then you know from direct experience that everything truly is one. But it starts, I keep going back to this because it's so important. I'll keep saying it. The sequence of it is, it starts within. It doesn't start out there. It starts within. And as you experience the inner transformation, which is something that you are choosing to experience because you have the power. It's your will, it's your choice. You are making that shift. You are choosing to embody the state of being that you want to experience in the future, right here, right now. So you're collapsing time, you're transcending time. And this is when everything starts to happen. So step 2 is elevate your emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, and this is the key for everything else to eventually change. And this is what leads to that outward external expression and manifestation. Step 3. Once you start to embody the state of being, the elevated emotions, and you're starting to notice that, okay, there's some truth to this. This is real. My outer world really is a reflection of my inner world. Then at this point, you start to notice that who you really are is beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond space, and beyond time. And you realize that you are the pure awareness that's behind all of it. And this pure awareness is divine. It's source consciousness, and it creates. That's the nature of being divine, is being a creator. And so from this place of, again, you're not coming from separateness, you're not coming from being an ego or identifying as a body-mind. No, you're awakening, you're realizing who you really are beyond all of that. And from this place of being essentially a nobody, being one with source, from wholeness, you can create the reality that you want to experience. from this place of love. Now people will say, oh, well, what does this mean? And so the mind, when the mind hears this, the mind's like, well, I'm going to start creating, from this place of ego. And that's not what this is about, because again, you're transcending the ego, you're transcending separateness. And so when you start to create from this place of divinity, from this place of true self, it's gonna be so much, it's gonna be beyond you. It's gonna be beyond this sense of being a separate self. It's going to be for others. It's going to be some kind of blessing, some kind of service to the world around you, because you're operating from this place of oneness, of everything is interconnected. And so this is what the journey is all about in my mind. It's going beyond our sense of being a separate self. It's going beyond the ego, and it's recognizing that we are all one, and that we come here, we incarnate in this 3D earth realm to wake up to our authentic selves. But once this happens, once we start living from authenticity and our vibrational frequency is super high, then the light of that starts to influence the world around us. And people see this light and they want to know, hey, how can I experience this light? And then we tell them, hey, the good news is you already have the light within you. You just have to wake up to it, and you have to know how to activate it. You have to know how to transcend the mind. You have to know how to start living from being instead of from doing, which is lack and separation. Being is oneness, wholeness, unity consciousness. And so once this starts happening, then this is when everything starts to shift. This is when everything starts to change. But it all starts with you. It all starts with what you are choosing to embody, what you are choosing to believe, what you are choosing to think, and it's all connected. But you have the power. And so I think this is the key with this message. It's obviously for us, first and foremost, to understand, but once we get it, once we experience it, and once we're transformed from the inside out, what we are telling others, what we're presenting to others, is that the power is already within them. They don't have to outsource their power. And that the ability to change, to be healed, to be restored, to create their own reality is something that lies within them. They don't have to get it from some kind of external source, some kind of external anything. It all starts with this inner activation, because the power has always been within us. And so that's the good news. That's the message that we are presenting, that we are sharing with others. Once we go through this ourselves, and we want others to experience the liberation and the freedom to be, so I think that's really important. But again, you start to become a creator when you get this, when you are operating and living from this place of pure awareness. But we could just call it pure being. I like that. I like pure being a little bit better than calling it pure awareness. When we're living from pure being instead of from doing, that is when the magic happens. That is when we can really transform the world around us. And, I'm saying all this, and I've been walking in this for some time now, but there are some times where I feel like I've noticed so much of it from the positive side, where I can go within and I can make that shift, and I can really see how, oh my goodness, like all these things that are happening, all these doors that are opening up, all these opportunities, all these synchronicities that start to arise when I shift my state of being, is confirming, it's proving to me that what I'm stepping into and what I'm saying is true, what I'm believing is true, and that it's actually in this sequence of going from within and then out there instead of the other way around. Like it's easy for me, I guess, to see that and to believe it, because I've experienced it in so many different situations and circumstances that were so clear and evident and apparent in my life. So it's cool, because there will be times where, like I said, I will intentionally make the shift. Like if I'm feeling off, then I'll start to make the correction and rest and fall back into being through meditation. and then I'll start to watch as everything else starts to change out there. But I'm making this video not too long after having an experience where I woke up one day, and this is part of life. This is normal. We wake up sometimes and we just feel like something's off energetically. It seemed like there was something, maybe a belief that had shown up in my awareness, and I was believing in something that maybe wasn't true about myself or about others, and it doesn't really matter what it was, but essentially there was some kind of lie that was trying to get into this harmony, this inner stillness, this state of being, this heart space that I'm living from. And I fell into it, I fell asleep, and I lost that awareness of the truth, of living from being instead of from doing. And once this happened, it was amazing, but I started to notice, I could feel it. A lot of this is, we can feel it because it's deep impressions, it's embodiment, and it's in the body. It's not so much in the headspace. So this is stuff that we feel. When the energy starts to shift and that sequence of the inner world and the outer world is taking place, we can absolutely feel that. And so I started to feel that shift of, okay, things are going downhill. And then it was crazy because all throughout that day, it was like one thing led to the next. And I was just really upset about something. I think I was mostly upset about the fact that I was like feeling off and feeling bad in the beginning of the day. But because I chose to like accept that, that was creating all these other things that kept happening. And have you ever heard someone say something like, oh, I can never catch a break, or, it's always me, or why does this keep happening? It's like, well, the reason for that is because the state of being hasn't changed. You've accepted it, and it's probably become something that's embedded in the subconscious. And so that keeps replaying itself in the external, in your outer world. And so this was happening to me like a few weeks ago, not that long ago. And I just totally lost sight of all these things I know to be true. But after a few hours of experiencing these like situations, these circumstances that kept popping up that were reflections of my inner state of being, and I was trying to like control them, and I was trying to fix stuff, and I was trying to like, alter these events and these situations in order to feel better, in order to like get myself out of this hole. I had to stop. It took me a few hours, but I had to bring myself back to this place of clarity and awareness where I could see, hey, wait a second. I've fallen asleep. I have slipped back into this old paradigm, this old mindset of separateness, and I'm thinking, which is the mind. This happens to all of us. Like we get trapped in our own ego, in our own minds, in our own way of thinking. And this is why I think, having a daily practice of meditation is so important, because the meditation grounds us. It keeps us centered in that state of being that we want to carry, that we want to embody throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. And so the more we're practicing meditation, the more easy it becomes to maintain that state of being, no matter what's happening, no matter what we're experiencing in our outer world, because we always know that the flow of it is from within, and then it's flowing without. It's like that verse that says, rivers of living water will flow from within you. That's the direction of the stream. And so if we want to change anything, if we want to have a different experience in the outer, again, where does it start? It starts within. It starts from that heart space, from our inner being. And so, yeah, I had to stop. I had to become aware. I kind of followed the steps that I was sharing today. So I became aware of the thoughts. I became aware of the lies, the beliefs that were attached to those thoughts. And then I started to make a shift in the emotions that I was choosing to experience. And so every time this happens, it's more confirming. It's giving me assurance that this is actually the way life is. This is actually the way reality is. And we're so programmed to think otherwise, but until we start to experience this, until we start to have these circumstances that pop up that are really indicators and telltale signs of what's actually going on, then we'll be living in doubt. We'll be living in uncertainty and what ifs. But I think one of the main things that I know for a fact that has really helped me with this whole concept that I'm sharing and this whole process of how to master the game of life is synchronicities. So when you are living in that state of being that is coming from wholeness and love and peace and joy and authenticity, which is natural, which is who we really are, then the outer world confirms this by all these different signs and numbers and synchronicities. But synchronicities can be so many different things. And so synchronicities are basically these outer signs that are showing us that whatever state of being that we're embodying is what we need to keep embodying, because something's happening. There is a shift that's occurring. There is something that we're creating, and we need to keep walking on that path. So look for that. And a lot of people say that, when they start meditating and they actually start to do the inner work and they start to heal, they start to embody these elevated emotions, they start to experience heart-brain coherence, then it's like there's this massive increase of synchronicities. Or maybe they were never getting synchronicities. Maybe synchronicities were something they didn't even know about. They weren't paying attention to these signs. But now all of a sudden, because they're more aware, because there's heightened awareness and expansion of consciousness, now they're starting to experience these synchronicities everywhere. And the synchronicities, again, can only really be experienced and seen on a regular basis with some kind of like meaningful pattern if the state of being that we're embodying is that of a high frequency. And the synchronicities are signs from our own subconscious mind to show us that everything is one. The door between the conscious and the subconscious is wide open, and it's like this little nudge to keep going. It gives us hope, it gives us faith, it gives us assurance. And again, this is something that any one of us can experience. And so this is not really anything to believe in. I wouldn't say this is a matter of, is this true or not? And do you have to like believe in it? And no, this is way beyond belief. This is something that you can know directly for yourself. This is something that you can start to experience right here, right now. It's not something that you have to like wait, and it's not something that's futuristic, and it's not something that is way out there somewhere. No, you can have it. You can experience it right here, right now. So that would be my encouragement to you, is to realize that and to start today with this brand new mindset, this brand new plan of action to completely change your life. So I think that's it for today. I think I've said enough. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.